Yeah, I'm on. I can do that too. Okay, here we go.
Hey, what's up? It's Matt. We are live. I'm live here with, I don't know what to call you. I'm going to call you the ninja, the LinkedIn ninja, the LinkedIn master, Marcus Murphy of Digital Marketer. How are you?
Yo, I'm good, man. It's clearly like look what we're doing. We look super quarantine right now. I call this like quarantine chic. It's basically like you would never catch me in my day to day wearing a Yeti hat and a workout outfit, but all I do now on calls is walk around. And I haven't had a haircut in like 2 months, so it's not looking great.
I It's funny you mentioned haircut because my barber just texted me,
Yeah,
and
dude.
I'll never forget because it was the day I guess before they were shutting down. He's like, "Hey, we're open tomorrow. Come support us." It didn't even cross my mind
Mm-mm.
I needed a haircut then,
Yeah,
and it was going to be 2 months. And I'm trying to convince my wife to let me go live this weekend and cut my own hair, and
yeah.
she thinks it's a very bad idea. But I'm like, hey, it might be good TV.
I would tune into it. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'd watch somebody, jump off a cliff for sure.
So I've seen you speak a lot at Digital Marketer, at Traffic and Conversions, online. Obviously, I've seen you at a couple of Billy's events. You do really amazing work with regards to content, with telling stories, with connecting with people. And I look
Mhm.
at you as LinkedIn as like just, I feel like I've figured out Facebook a lot, and I feel like I am clueless and like lost with like I've got my my breathe guard over my mask over my eyes when I'm on LinkedIn. So I want to talk to you about LinkedIn, maybe some of your thoughts on what people do right, do wrong, and how they can succeed with it.
Yeah, man. Yo, it's kind of funny because you just said that you don't know, but you're in good company because the majority of people have no idea how to actually win on the site. Using it, talking about content, talking about actually what should you be paying attention to and what shouldn't you be paying attention to, like that just comes through trial and error. And honestly, every single quote unquote LinkedIn guru teacher out there, like everybody has like some course or something. I just don't. The reason why I get to talk about it the way I do is because I was an early adopter. I have built a following through good content that's practical and relevant, which is good, and human, man. Like Matt, I can't be buttoned up professor guy. Like I need to teach and talk and be real with people. And then the other one is like, yeah, I've been on the advisory board at LinkedIn now for going on 3 years. I'm a LinkedIn learning author to its 22 million students. So like, yeah, I know a couple things about it, but the bigger stuff is like all the trial and error and all the stuff that I've done over the last 5 years. I just like sharing it, like what's working, right? And then all the trash that I get, because the majority of people who send you, like, it's like, hey, let's do a virtual hand raise. If you received an absolute turd of a message on LinkedIn, raise your hand. It's like, I bet everybody's sitting there at home looking like they're getting held up at gunpoint because that's what it feels like. Because I don't know what happens to us, Matt, when we actually take humanity out of online engagement. It's like
Yeah.
people literally go, hey, like you, I laugh all the time because on LinkedIn, I know that people can see if you looked at their profile, right?
Yeah.
And it's such a weird thing because it's the biggest missed opportunity for everybody if they actually know how to start a conversation. Somebody came by your profile, looked at you, and went away. And you're asking me sometimes, being like, should I say hi to them? Yeah, because it would be weird if you didn't. It'd be like me going like, and then leaving. And that's not okay. That's not human. So if somebody comes by your LinkedIn profile, do yourself a favor and look at just reaching out to them. And here's the message. Hey, I saw you stop on my profile. Is there anything I can help you with? Because that is human interaction. It's what it looks like offline, which works online, and it doesn't have to be so damn professional. So yeah, man, I think everybody should be paying attention to LinkedIn if that's the question. 700 million people on the platform, 9 billion content impressions every single week in the feed. 700 million sounds like a lot, but that's not their goal. They're trying to get to 3 billion people on the platform. So even if you get on right now, you're quote unquote an early adopter. So congratulations. Even if you think that your stuff looks terrible, you're in good company because out of those 9 billion content impressions and those 700 million people on the site, all that content is only being driven by less than 3% of the entire population. And that, my friends, is called viral. That's why you can see all these really amazing posts go viral, is because they show up on everybody's activity feeds, and the algorithm is incredibly generous in terms of your second and third connections. And I'll tell you, Matt, the coolest part is actually watching. Like now that I have a pretty substantial following, I'll go comment on somebody's post that I think is good, and I'll write a comment, and I'll come back later and see that it jumped 100 something comments and whatever, because everybody in my network was notified that I engaged with that piece of content. And so if
Yeah.
you understand it, it's like Facebook was 6 years ago before you had to start paying for awareness, right? Like they had to monetize it. So in 2011, all of a sudden you just saw, whoop, nobody can find you anymore organically, right? And that's not happened on LinkedIn. And if people understand that, they understand that content is the major play. But here's the thing, it's not just content. Like content, if it's not creating conversations, is just noise. Like if you can actually create content that creates dialogue, you are going to win on LinkedIn. And understanding that it doesn't need to be all buttoned up and professional and all, no, think contraction. Okay. Think conversational, think those types of things when you're writing your 1,300 character posts. People love reading real conversational pieces of content. And the craziest stuff, man, like the best stuff that's ever gone viral for me. Like I have posts that are like 200,000, 300,000 views now. And a lot of it was just ridiculous stuff. Like one day I was sitting at the office with Ryan and I was shredding stuff at the front. Like I was literally just putting things in a shredder, like papers, CDs. I just got addicted. And I was sitting there going like, man, this is the best. This is better than cocaine. And that's what I said. I said it out loud. I'm not saying if I've ever experimented with drugs, I just have really good drug humor. But I was sitting around going, okay, I'm going to write a post about this. So I put it up on LinkedIn, a picture of me shredding. And I said, hey, I found something better than cocaine. It's called shredding. And I put it on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, the business professional site. That's, you shouldn't be putting drug humor things on there, right? You shouldn't do that, except that it got 43,000 views in the first 2 hours because people were writing me too. They were like, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one. I love shredding, everything. And it was just like all these different comments. And what happened was, it's like, yeah, people loved it, but there are also, no matter what kind of content you put out there, there are going to be people that don't love it, which actually makes it go further too. Because one guy was like, and you know how it's better than cocaine because, and it's like hashtag sobriety society. And I was like, and what you don't write back to those guys is you don't just say what I said, which was like, I just love the smell, which wasn't a good, hey, I get it. Like, that's not like an amazing thing to say to people like that. But here's what Ryan Dice said. Cause you're sitting there asking yourself, you're writing about drug humor and you have a multi-million-dollar global business and you're an executive at this company. How can you say stuff like that on LinkedIn? Well, Ryan Dice, our CEO and founder of Digital Marketer, got on there and said, well, that's really surprising because I know how much you love cocaine, which made it go bananas viral, right? But what was the point though? The point is that people love good content and started to engage. The whole point is as people started to comment, like, and share, all of a sudden this thing went all over the place and people love a good laugh. People love distractions. They love conversation. And so I've experimented with the gamut of content on the platform. And that's why I've seen the kind of growth that I've had.
So Dexter in the comments asked, writing content over video content. Is there a balance of one or the other?
Yeah, man, the native content, like native video content on LinkedIn has been a major push. So guess what? You get preferential treatment for things on platforms where they want you to push it. So pictures on post. Now you can post GIFs on LinkedIn, and I say GIF, not GIF, so you can get it right. But I post GIFs on there that actually make it kind of stand out. Video content is massive. But you got to understand, people they literally say this to me all the time. They're just like, man, my content's not doing that well. LinkedIn doesn't work. And I'm like, no, your content sucks shit. Your content's not good. It's just like people tell me like email's dead. No, the person who wrote it is. Cold calling is dead. No, the person connected to the phone is dead. Most of the time with our content, we don't understand that it's not conversational in structure, that yes, my written posts do better than my videos, because videos, unless I know, no offense, like I'm not God's gift to beauty. Okay. But videos, when it comes down to it, it actually needs to be interesting. It needs to be like somebody that you enjoy watching, that has good things to say. The setting has to be right, aesthetically pleasing and capturing someone's attention immediately. Look, I'm not trying to tell you about video, but I'm trying to tell you that if good content is the goal, both of those work. Both of those work. So written content is the most viral stuff I've ever had. I have videos where I just got done running. I'm sweating, dripping sweat, and it got tons of engagement. So no one's looking for you to show up and be like this super polished person, but you know what they want right now? They want empathetic. They want you to show up just like this. Hey, guess what? We're in quarantine. I'm looking at, God knows what on the back of Matt's wall. And if we're on Zoom, don't act like we don't all love looking at our coworkers' crappy houses. Okay. Like, why would they have linoleum or like, wood paneling in their kitchen? It's amazing. It's amazing.
That was a big conversation during the NFL draft. It's like what the coaches had and their depth.
Yeah, yeah, because we're weird. We're human. We're such weirdos. So yeah, I would say this, man. To answer that question, please, 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 just focus on producing good, relevant conversational content. Whether you want to use video, which does get some preferential treatment, but not as much as you'd think. Write really good posts, but don't use blocked paragraph text. People don't read like that anyway. So if you want to kind of maybe hack the system on the written content, you want to write those 1,300 characters out in a conversational format that's spaced just like people's brains like to consume content. And so honestly, go to my LinkedIn page, look at every single post I've put out and look at the engagement levels. And there is a formula in the way that I write and the way that I share video and the way I share photos. And I do them strategically and I spread out, which one gets the preference. And honestly, the written posts with very little graphics or video, tend to be my best thing. And here's the deal. If you want to learn about LinkedIn video, go check out and follow Goldie Chan, my homie out in LA, Goldie Chan. She has green hair. You can't miss her. She has she has an amazing strategy around video, and she grew her followers to about 50 or 60,000, I think, doing this daily video that she's been doing over the last several years. And she is an expert. So go check her out for on the video front.
Okay, I'm gonna check her out. Now, somebody on here said, and I agree with this here. Hunter said quality content over transactional. One thing I found a few years ago when I first met Billy Jean, a friend we have in common, Billy, I did what Billy said back in 2016. I heard him say, if you want to become friends with somebody that's a lot better than you, pay them.
Yep.
And so I paid him a decent amount of money for about a year and a half to be a coach and learned a ton. And I credit him for a lot of where I've come with my business over the last couple of years. But one thing that I noticed when I started working with Billy, a lot of my content was transactional. It was like how great Matt is, how great what we do is. And then I realized that nobody really gave a shit. And so I started going live on my phone with my kids. Me and my daughter did a whole video where we hydro dipped some Nike Air Force Ones. And I started just having candid conversations that were real. And the content that was like that works so much better than transactional that I think it showed me on Facebook how to do it. I've still not cracked the LinkedIn code on it. And we'll look at that in a minute, I think.
Yep.
Pick on me.
No, it's okay. I'm definitely going to tear apart your LinkedIn page. But also, happy birthday, Billie Jean. You beautiful bitch. You are amazing. I love you so much. He is truly that. I'll tell you something that's crazy, man. Like when it comes down to what kind of content people love, and you can hear from Billy, and Billy's great about content. If you've never followed Billie Jean and you don't know who we're talking about, look up Billie Jean is marketing. You will thank us. He's not everybody's cup of tea, but that's the reason why I love him. Hey, so I honestly think that content, and especially on this platform, people just get it mistaken. Like there is a level of authenticity that people really appreciate on the platform. And the reason that people are getting the types of responses that after taking my courses and going through how to set up their profile, how to optimize everything, how to create a content calendar that actually works is because I start with trying to write from a place of vulnerability. And like, think about it, the about section. Everybody ruins the about section. The about section is just usually a list of bullets of who they are. It's their online resume or CV. It's just that it doesn't actually create conversations. I wrote in a narrative format 2.5 years ago. It's about 2,000 characters. So you can write in story format and tell people, I'm on a mission to do this. This is who I am. This is the problems I'm trying to overcome. This is how I'm overcoming those problems. This is what I'm passionate about. And then you want to give a call to action to people because believe it or not, people still read. I know it's hard to believe that, but when they come to your page, the first thing they're going to see is your about section underneath that really beautiful photo you have, and your headline is going to be that section that gives people their first interaction with who you are. And if it's conversational, if it's fun, if it has your personality riddled throughout, if it has things you're passionate about, people can connect with it. And that is really great. And they're not going to connect with a bullet point of superlatives that you think are important to get your next job. That is not what this platform is about anymore. It's no longer the online CV. It's no longer the online resume. It's a place where you can be heard and build a brand. And I think that's what the people are learning, and that's the people that are winning, is when they can start to leverage that content that builds their tribe. And Matt, I think you have a very specific tribe, and I think it's really cool because you haven't had to be somebody else, and people come to you, which is really cool. And if people understood that if they could do that on LinkedIn and truly be authentic, they're going to attract the tribe that identifies with that, not somebody that, not everybody, which is good. You shouldn't be attracting everybody. You should attract the people who care about what you're saying, which is cool.
I love that. It's funny because as you're saying this stuff, I'm not looking at my screen to see what the other tab of my LinkedIn profile is, because I'm like, oh my gosh, because if for everybody that's out there, I'm gonna have him pick my apart, kind of maybe roast my profile, because a couple years ago I was at an event and where he did this to Billie Jean, and it was hilarious to see, but it was also eye opening because you're like, oh crap, that's my profile, and you're like, I'm like over there on my laptop changing it in case you pick me in the ground, and I looked at LinkedIn. I've had an agency since '08. I've had my LinkedIn profile for a long time, but I ignored it, honestly, until probably a year ago. And then what I realized, I would get on there and I would do some stuff and then nothing would happen. I'm like, oh, this platform, LinkedIn is terrible. Then I'm like, hold on. You just spent 2 hours in Facebook groups engaging with people and having candid conversations. You came to LinkedIn, you typed 3 things in 2 days and left, and you expect miracles to happen. So I've started getting more active, and I'm trying to get more active. I'm trying to figure out, what my, where the people are that I need to talk to, and also who to talk to. And I, like you mentioned earlier, I see the posts that come up that say, I'll scroll through. I won't see the Marcus Murphy commented, but I'll see the post. Yeah. And I'm like, who's this cat? And then I'll read it and be like, oh, that's good stuff. And I'll comment, and then I'll go, oh, that's why I saw this. Marcus commented.
Yeah. That's the way the algorithm's set up, man. And it's cool because that's when they realized the biggest shift and the smartest thing LinkedIn ever did, that essentially was they were on a burning, sinking ship into irrelevancy, being just an online resume where people go to get jobs or try to hire people, because not everybody's doing that all the time, right? Like most people are gainfully employed or engaged in something most of the time. So what happened was they decided to create a place where they could put content. Like they created a feed. You're going to start to see newsletters are going to be coming, this like really popular thing that they're going to have subscribed newsletters. You can already see it with some of the major influencers on LinkedIn have access to newsletters, and they're just going to start seeing that, different mediums, different vehicles of creating good content distribution, and then seeing the site at its core being that a place that attracts professionals. It has that enough of that context. Even if you act unprofessional like me with drug humor, it still attracts professionals and people in that context. And then it's a very valuable place. It's the reason why LinkedIn Learning's kind of revenue engine has everything to do with Sales Navigator, its marketing cloud, or its marketing solution in terms of like paid advertising. And then it also has a recruiter element to it, because all three of those buckets on revenue are what people are using to get in front of other people on the site. And I think that the biggest one, because the one I'm actually on the advisory board for, is LinkedIn Navigator, the sales side and the sales solution. And I'll tell you, that's been incredibly valuable. But I'll tell you, if people are sitting around thinking, man, I need to run ads or I need to get Sales Navigator. No, you don't. No, you don't. You need to go and slow down and make sure that your profile is set up in a way that people want to have a conversation with you. Because no matter how much ads you get, you can't, I don't know, I think Ryan Dice said one time, you can't polish a turd. It's still a turd. Like you cannot drive traffic to a bad website. It's the same way you can't get attention to your busted profile. So you got to start there. You got to slow down, make sure that it's communicating when you want it to communicate.
Okay. Well, can we go to my profile and you tell me how busted it is?
Of course. Let's go. Show it. Show it to the world. Show it to the world.
Let me give you some context as to what we're trying to do with it and why. So we let's see, LinkedIn. There it is.
I like this disclaimer.
Yes. Well, so I've got a team. I've got 20 plus people on my team. We work on a lot of things. And there's Doug, who actually is part of my team that has talked to you before.
Yep.
I started doing a lot of it myself a while back. And then I got to a point where I just did video a couple times a day. I have my Matt Platt page. I have a business page as well, my personal. And I would do videos and I would put produced stuff and I'd put raw stuff. I'm LinkedIn Live. We're live on LinkedIn right now. So I started doing live as well. And I have not found, I've had one video that, okay, I guess some of us caught a little, but one that's gotten a lot of attention, which Doug had sent to you. And thank you. You said, hey, reason it did well is more people consumed it. There was this many people had this many connections and they commented and that mushroomed it out and you went viral. But recently we've been changing it to where I'm putting some of our content with thumbnails that lead to content on YouTube. I'm putting organic, content right on the platform. I'm literally just throwing it out there, trying to figure out what's going on. So let me go here. Let me pull up my profile.
Oh, this is going to be good. I'm so excited.
I'm probably going to get, let's see,
So the first thing I'm going to say to you, the first thing, okay, that I want to say is I love your logo. I really, really do. But I love your face more. And I think that when it comes to your personal profile, I want to see your beautiful mug and I want it to take up 60% of the frame. Okay. I want to make sure that it's clean and it's you, because here's the deal. Online relationships in business turn into offline. And a lot of times what happens is not everybody's going to see your header photo, and they really do like only get one shot to kind of see. They see you and they see your headline. They see you and your headline. They see you and your name. And rarely right now, even though like on other platforms I've seen that you've used your logo, I think it's a great use on other platforms for sure. It's a great way to brand. In this case, I think you're going to get more connections and more people want to connect with you when it's going to be your face. So that's just the first one. The other one I like it, and I think this is so good because the header is something that people are not taking advantage of, but has an impact on how often you show up and where you show up. If you have a fully optimized page, if you have what's called an all-star profile, you actually show up more. You're recommended more. You need to make sure that everything's optimized. So in this header photo, people typically just put up, I don't know, butterfly photos or something weird. You have an opportunity to brand, and brand is key. Personalization is how you win on LinkedIn, especially in the profile game. Now, here's where I think people get it wrong as well. Matt has done a good job. The headline, which is that series of verbiage under his name, is where you have an opportunity to tell people what you do, not necessarily your title, because they can get that as they scroll down the page. This is an invitation. This is essentially like we have our whole entire sales team, and they put like, we help digital agencies grow, right? We are on a mission to double the size of 10,000 businesses, like those types of things. It also has like a place for you to put things like, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a host, I'm all that. But I also really think that what you're going to do here is create an invitation so that people know exactly what type of conversation you're looking for and then what you are willing to talk to them about. And that's why you've got this kind of space here. And that's why people are, if you see somebody that says like CEO, like Dave Cancel, my homie, has just CEO of Drift, which is powerful enough that he doesn't need to do much else. Yeah. But the majority of us do need to explain what we do. And this is a really good opportunity to do that, which helps people understand. One, they get to look at your beautiful face and they get one kind of quick second to use a very primitive part of their brain to see whether they want to connect with you and talk to you at all. And then they get to also take a very primitive part of their brain and put together just a one sentence of, well, what is this person about? More so than their title or whatever it is. Because if you think about it, most businesses, CEO doesn't really mean anything anymore. CEO of a reputable business totally does, but CEO of a business they've never heard of doesn't tell them anything. So I think that it's really good to have that kind of piece. Now, I love the use. It's funny. People always ask me, like, what do you think about emojis? And here's what I'm going to tell you. Somebody gave me terrible advice one time. I was working at, I think my first job, I was working in higher ed. I was like I don't know, admissions counselor, the guy that gives all the presentations on college stuff that you want to jam a pencil in your eye. Like, I actually liked those. I did pretty well with that. But somebody, my dean was like, Marcus, you need to stop using smiley faces in your emails. And I remember sitting there going, okay, well, how are they going to know that I don't hate them? Because we don't use you're like in a formal setting. So I was trying to be like, hey, you didn't get into college, but I'm still your friend, like, how do you communicate that in an email? So I do actually like emojis, but not for the reason that people put them on their profiles most of the time. Sometimes they put them on there because they think that it's like some type of hack or that it stands out more. It actually doesn't. You can use them when you write. You can use them here to maybe communicate a little bit more about what you do. I have no problems with that. I use fire emojis too much. I use all kinds of, I use inappropriate ones. I can't really talk about it here, but I can tell you that I use emojis. My friends know that, and I'm totally good with it if it communicates and helps you create texture. Your about section, can we click on that real quick? Is it expand there, or is that what you got?
I don't know. Let's see. No, that's it.
I'm gonna move my microphone like this, and then I'm gonna come back in, and then I'm gonna get serious. Guys, you have real estate. If you're watching this, Matt, you have real estate, 2,000 characters. And guess what? This is a searchable section. It doesn't mean you're going to hear word stuffing and trying to be all crazy. All right. But it does mean that things that you say, terminology that you use to describe yourself, your industry, who you are, those are really important. In fact, if you wouldn't mind, I know you're sharing your screen. Do you mind pulling up my LinkedIn profile really quick on another tab? Because while we're talking, while Matt's bringing that up, I do want to show you what my summary is, just to give you an example of kind of the narrative format that I'm talking about. Because you have 2,000 characters to tell people about yourself. And you're sitting around probably wondering, well, Marcus, is this just for SEO? Like, I don't, like people aren't really reading these sections, are they? I get 10 to 15 messages a week, 10 to 15 messages a week from people being like, I read your summary. It's amazing. I would love to. I don't know how to work with each other, but I'm excited to get connected, right? Like those are all really important. So if you scroll down to my about section there and expand it, so it should be just below this highlights, and there you go. So the see more section there. So what it says here is it says, I'm on a mission to overcome the stigma of selling. That is my opening statement. It means that I want to tell people what I'm trying to do. And then I get into some personality statements, is what I call them, Matt. And it's basically like, when I was a kid, I didn't ask, I didn't dress up as a salesperson for Halloween. And I certainly didn't ask for sales training for Christmas. Because why? I'm speaking to a group of people who are salespeople, who most of them have accidentally become salespeople. So I'm trying to create this empathetic, like, I totally get it, guys. Like, I was a psychology and philosophy double major. My mom thought I was going to be a forklift operator, and here I am selling the stuff, right? Like, that's where I ended up. And then I try and get into it. It's like, unfortunately, no one wants to be a salesperson, even though it's the largest profession in the United States. And people hate being sold, but they love to buy. So I'm creating the problem. Right? There's the problem. We have a massive consumer culture, but nobody wants to buy from a person because those people have a stigma associated with them that nobody likes. They're pushy, they're selfish, they don't go value first. And by the time I get all the way down where I'm adding in some humor and things like that, I get to a call to action. And I say, hey, it's time to put thoughtfulness back into the sales process. And I'm ready to take on that challenge, right? So does anyone want to join me? And I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, Marcus, this is really thoughtful and really cool and really inspiring. No, I literally get 10 to 15 messages a week from people. My ideal client, my ideal connection is in the sales capacity, and business owners and salespeople and sales leaders. And they're reaching out to me proactively and asking me questions, or saying, I want to join, or like, man, I loved your summary. How they start conversations. And that's the whole point of this section. So 2,000 characters. Do you see how I have it spaced out? As if you were like reading a book, essentially. That is how people in just every single piece of content I've ever put out, that is how people prefer, and that's their preference in terms of the way that they read and the way that they like to read conversational content, because it's similar to how we would talk to one another. So anyway, I just want to give you that example. Let's jump back into Matt's real quick. And Matt, I don't know how we're doing on time, but I just wanted to maybe you want one more thing on your side?
Yeah, you're fine. I mean, the time's all yours. I'm good. I'm after this.
Time is all mine.
Like adopt you. No.
Yeah, it's like Matt's like, I'm gonna take a nap after this. This has been a lot. Here's the newest section that everybody is going. Man, I wish this section existed 3 years ago, because you could have a really amazing piece of content that you wrote that just went viral, crazy, and you literally have nowhere that it gets buried. Everybody doesn't know how to get to it. The featured section was a new addition, and it's literally a scroll of places where you can post your biggest, best, like, engaged pieces of content. But also, if you go to the plus button there, Matt, you can actually add in now like articles and outside links. So this is where you would put your YouTube videos. This is where you would put your podcast that you're proud of. Like, if you go back to my page there, if you look at my featured section, there's going to be not only just above here. So scroll back up. Yeah, there we go. So this is a post I did in 2016 that literally changed my life. It's the reason why I'm on the board. It's the reason why everything. It's basically why cold calling is dead and Jeff Weiner's my hero. That's what went viral. Jeff wrote on it. It's like very cool piece of content. But then if you scroll to the right, you'll see that there's my podcast with the Harmon brothers on Poop to Gold, which is an incredible podcast, everybody on the planet. This is the entrepreneur article that was written about that post I did in 2016. This is my first course on LinkedIn learning here. This is a podcast or a YouTube video of something I did talking about LinkedIn marketing tips at Traffic and Conversion Summit. And when you expand it and see all, it just continues to be that same vibe. It still has all of the same pieces of content, but now you've got Forbes articles and you've got all the things that are telling the story for people about who I am, what I've done, a little bit about my family, like some of the articles I've written. So now people have a curated list of things that you think they should know about you, pieces of content that are going to be the first things that they engage with. And so this section did not exist before. And so all of this content, where did it live? It was just in the feed somewhere, or like buried in my post, and no one could ever really kind of engage with what you wanted to. So right now, everybody should be in their featured section telling the story you want people to know about you through different pieces of content, whether it's on the site or off the site. And this is a major win. And the sad part is, Matt, you're not alone. The majority of people, I'm saying the majority of people don't know this has been updated, and they don't know how to use it.
I mean, I've seen it on my profile, but I guess, I don't know. I assumed it was just pulling stuff from my profile that I don't think I've ever looked at that pin and been like, I could probably change this.
Yeah. And that's great. And as you can change a lot more. Keep going down a little bit. So your dashboard on here is going to show you, and we'll just do a juxtaposition here between yours and mine real quick to give people kind of both perspectives. So your dashboard is going to show you how many people viewed your profile. And this is going to be a kind of a 90-day glimpse into how many people viewed your profile, how many video views. So if you put up a video, this is going to be how many people viewed it. And then you're also going to have search appearances, which means like this is how many times you have shown up in specific searches on the platform. So now go over to my page and scroll to this section. As you've built out this network and you really start working this is what you won't be able to see that, will you? Unless I actually log into mine. I'll give you the numbers. So total views in 90 days was right around 10,000 for me. I show up a little over 20,000 times in searches. And I also have, in terms of like how many times my content has been read, it's in the hundreds of thousands. Right. And the reason is because I'm a consistent poster. I understand I understand the formula and I understand my audience. And so even though I only have, 18,000 followers, it ends up 18,000 followers, by the way, on LinkedIn is like 100,000 on IG. Like, just put it in perspective. Like, it is crazy to get that kind of momentum. And then you're looking at other people. So I was going to tell you this, if you also want to follow somebody who's putting out really great content and kind of mastered the algorithm, Dave Gerhardt, write down Dave Gerhardt, Gerhart. I think that's Gerhardt. But Dave was the previous VP of marketing at Drift, and now he's the CMO over at Privy, which is a really cool e-com company if you've never heard of it. But Dave's a homie, and we're about to do a LinkedIn Live to talk about our LinkedIn hacks at some point. But Dave has like 50,000 followers, but he got that in a year and a half, just for perspective. I mean, homeboy understands his audience in the marketing world and just has blown up. So anything he does is gold. Okay, let's go through a couple more things and then I'll be done. I'm gonna shut up and then everybody can, they don't have to hear my voice anymore. The activity feed is actually really cool. So this is where we get that kind of viral activity. So if you click on see all up on the top right there, you're going to go in and see that, hey, not only am I going to see all the activity. So this is everything that Matt's done on the platform. So this is like, if Matt posted something, that's going to also be, there it is. And so it's not going to be, this is going to be if Matt posted something. This is also going to be if Matt liked an article or engaged with another person's post. And if you understand this section as a LinkedIn user, you will understand the power of like how far this thing can really go. So if you click on articles, posts, documents, all of these will now start to splinter out different pieces of content that you've had and will be kind of a repository of where your content lives. The crazy part though, the articles, articles really came from an acquisition that happened several years ago where you could kind of start to post articles. It's called Pulse on the site, but articles is what it ended up being. And articles don't get as much love. Like if Damon or Kevin or Gary or any of those guys wrote an article, it's going to go massively viral because they have millions of followers, right? But articles are not getting the same type of love that a feed post would get because everybody's sitting there and living in the feed and they're getting information there. So that's going to be really important. And the last thing I have for you, there's two things on the bottom of your page. So if you scroll back to out of this section, so if you hit back.
Real quick comment on just the post content before we go back to that page. Like obviously that's a live video. And then a couple times a day, we share thumbnails that came with, we use Repurpose House to do some of my content. And we share a thumbnail that leads back to that piece of content, which at some point has been on LinkedIn, but the link goes to YouTube. And then these are posts for my podcast that come out every Tuesday. And of course, the live video is on here somewhere. And then I go live. I do, I do something like here's one of the videos, 42-second snippet of the podcast that comes out live Tuesday.
Love it.
But this one, for example, I'm surprised this one hasn't done better. This is every Thursday, me and my dad go live.
I love that.
And we talk every Thursday, and there's a lot of comedy because him and I are basically identical, just 30 years apart. And we talk business. Yesterday, we talked about his knee surgery and playing golf again. We talk business. We talk my childhood growing up, one of my clients, one of my things, I got an idea for my About Us area when you talked about nobody, studied to be in sales. I'll never forget a client of mine when I was 23 selling radio. And he's like, "Is this your first sales job?" I said, "Yes, my first one. I'd never sold anything in my life." He goes, "I'll dispute that. Knowing how you are, you probably talked your way out of an ass kicking many times." I'm like,
yeah, I know that.
when you sell, like, that might be good for my About Us. But I've been surprised that, like, now we go live, and maybe it's just I got to get my following going better. But I've been surprised that hasn't gotten more traction, because I get a lot of feedback on Facebook. I probably get 5 to 10 phone calls a week from people that call me and go, "Man, I wish I could hang out with my dad like that. My dad's not around anymore. He's not in business, or we don't have that relationship." And so I've been surprised that doesn't do better on LinkedIn.
Yeah, man, I think it actually just is who and get what. Now watch this. So when I get back to my house, I'm going to share this live on my LinkedIn. Okay. And I want to show you where the views, I want you to start looking at where your views go and like that kind of stuff. It does take some intentionality to build it out. Like your 3,000 or so connections that you have, those are all really great, but that's the extent of the audience unless someone engages with it, which will take it to a tertiary audience. So that's going to be something that I think is going to be really interesting to watch, kind of like how this piece of content goes, because I'm going to share it with my community. And if my community likes it, they're going to share it with theirs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I just this could totally suck and they don't like it, but I doubt it. I think they're going to like seeing me in a terrible Yeti hat and a workout tee. Okay. So this is another opportunity. The experience section is something that I tell people all the time. It's like you have if you click the edit button again, which is that pencil over there on the right, this gives you an opportunity to add additional context as well. And it's a total opportunity to come in here and write the same kind of narrative format that you used in your summary or your about section. That is going to be, there's a lot of characters you can add in here, and you can start telling people what you do here and why you do it and what the company's mission is and some of the values and that kind of stuff. That can all go here. That is a very important place for it to be. And you can build that out. Again, these are searchable sections. So it's really good to have them fully optimized just for your sake and your profile. And then the last thing I'm going to tell you is that we've got two things down at the bottom. There is a recommendation section, and then there is a skills and endorsements. Skills and endorsements is so valuable because after 99, it just says 99 plus. But this is a section where other people are telling the world how good you are at the things you're good at. And the reason why it's cool is because you're kind of a participant in it. You're the one who dictates what these top 3 superlatives are. Okay. So if you go up to the top of this and click that edit button again, right over the skills and endorsements section, you'll see that you can actually pick those top 3. So you've got a ton. See down here, you've got other ones. You can actually go over to those 3, little 3 dashes right there, and you can drag and drop, put advertising up there. You can put social media back down. So if you click those 3 little lines, you can move everything around. So that's the beauty of this whole thing, is that people can now pick, hey, these are the top 3 things that I want people to know, because that's all people are going to see. And then everybody who comes to your page will endorse you if they agree with those statements. So mine's leadership, management, and public speaking. So mine are pretty much like, they have it all the way down, and I've had them on there for a while. And so if I wanted to do sales, I would take one of those output sales up there. So for you, you've got advertising 99 plus. I would totally put that one up there. Like that seems to be, people think you're great at that. But if you don't want people to know about that and you want something else to be known, then you can kind of stack rank your top 3, whatever way you feel fit. The reciprocity rule works here. Everyone asks me, how do I get more endorsements? And the only thing I can tell you is go endorse other people. That's how you get them. Is if you're out there endorsing other people, typically they stop and endorse you. And then here's the final thing. Recommendations. So important. By the way, does that say 51? You gave 51, 51 recommend. You're a recommendation hero. Okay. So everybody ask Matt for a recommendation. Apparently he's giving them out like hotcakes. All right. But they make it really easy for you. That ask for a recommendation that you're hovering over there with the mouse, they prompt it. They ask you who you want to ask the recommendation from. And it's really great because, again, these are sections that people can leave think about everywhere else. You were asking about restaurants earlier. You're asking me about like these other service-based industries. People can literally almost use this as a review section for you, and you can solicit for this. Not on Yelp, not on OpenTable. No, that's a slap on the wrist. This is a place where you can go as a real estate agent and have people that you sold homes to come in here and write about how awesome it was to work with you, how great it is. Like, these are places that you can curate and make sure that people know if they're coming to your LinkedIn page, they're going to see a bunch of happy customers down here. It's totally great. And so anyway, this is kind of where this is like the boys to men end of the road here, because I've been talking for so long. I want a glass of water, but I think that is going to be, see, it didn't hurt, right? I didn't tear you apart that much.
It wasn't as bad. I mean, it was eye opening. Now it's definitely different when, like, Billy probably doesn't need LinkedIn. He never used it, but it was funny when you pull it up on screen and it's like a picture that's like 10 years old and doesn't look like it. And
Yeah, his statement was like, "I sell stuff online" or something like that. It was
yeah,
just, it was trash. But what I mean is, like, I think that, yeah, Billy probably doesn't need as much, but he does. I've been trying to talk to him about it for years. But what this is going to do for people is, remember, you're not optimizing your profile. Like what I just took you through isn't just about optimizing it just to make sure that it's filled out or just to make sure you look like a rock star. That's not the point. The point is that those skills and endorsements, the summary section, all of your past history, the way you write about it, the core values, the mission, everything on that page is setting it up so that people, when they get there, proactively want to have a conversation with you based on what they find there. Okay. So if you're not setting your profile up in ways that people want to engage you, then it's not effective. It's not an effective profile. So don't think about, like, you could take all those courses in the world about, oh, I just got to have a picture, I got to have this, and you just have it filled out. It's bigger than that. The biggest opportunity is optimizing it for conversations with the right types of people.
man, I got 2 pages of notes. I'm sure everybody's going to watch now, watch in the future. Got a lot of value. The last thing I'll ask you, a quick question and wrap up, is just when it comes to using LinkedIn, a lot of us are, like, LinkedIn for me was a boneyard. It was where salespeople hung out to solicit you in groups and in private message up until 2 years ago.
Damn, it's still happening. So yeah.
And now I'm getting more active, but I'm so accustomed to getting on my phone, going to Facebook, going to IG, and looking at content and engaging in content. Is that the best way to grow your network? Is to, when you're on your timeline and you're seeing a post that pops up that says Marcus commented on it, and reading it and then giving feedback, and just constantly do that?
Yeah, if you're looking a way to grow your LinkedIn page or your LinkedIn presence, the reason why I grew the way I did, obviously I'm speaking and doing those types of things, but before I started creating content, I was engaging with it. In fact, 97% of everybody on LinkedIn is not a content creator. As I just told you, 700 million people, 3% of that population share content. The rest of us are just engaging with it. So if you don't feel like you have the bandwidth to create a bunch of content every day, if you're out there and commenting and liking and sharing really relevant pieces of information, man, that's going to be where you start to build a name for yourself and start seeing people. Because remember, when you write on someone's content, everybody else can see it, and that goes to second and third and fourth, or not fourth, but second and third connections, and then you start building that awareness that way. So yeah, 100%, man. Engage with other
And
people.
I've noticed that. I've never messaged somebody that looked at my profile, and that makes complete sense. I've noticed that when I comment on somebody's stuff, I do a lot in the restaurant business. I'll comment on some restaurant stuff about the PPP loans and EIDL, and then literally I'll have 7 people look at my profile, and they're all in the restaurant business. And I've never reached out to them, but it makes sense to go, "Hey, saw you checked me out. What's going on? How's life?"
How can I help you? By default, everybody on here, if you're listening, best question in human history is, can I help, or how can I help? Because it puts people in a position where it's like, oh yeah, I looked at your profile. Like, I was just coming by, I saw you comment on this thing. It's like, oh yeah, cool. But listen, when people reach out to you, respond, have a conversation, because if they are the ideal profile, like you're talking about with a restaurant owner, and if they say anything to you, you can turn that into a conversation that ultimately leads to asking them questions about what they do in their business, and showing them that you've done your research. Because if you start with them, the human response is, once they're done talking about themselves, they typically, if they're not a sociopath or megalomaniac, will ask you about you. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, perfect. I appreciate it. And I guess I'll end with asking a question. Is there anything I can do to help you? Anything I can do to help your business, help you? What?
Just keep being my friend, man. I really appreciate it. Since the moment you reached out to me, sent me a pair of shoes, and you've been on my radar for guys that I want to win. And I think that's an interesting part, man. Like I say this to Billy and we have a small group of friends, right? Like, we roll in a circle that we're not the Damon Johns of the world, but someday we hope to be, and I think that, when you look at guys like that, I just look at people like you who genuinely are out there trying to help people. And of course, like, I would do anything. And so I don't need your help. I just need you to keep doing all this great stuff in the world, and we'll keep wanting to support you and help you win, man.
I appreciate it. And hopefully we get TNC in December in San Diego. That's fingers crossed we have it happen.
Man, I'll be hosting it, so it better be it better happen in December. It's also my birthday, so I'm looking for like 10,000 people to shower me with happy birthday love. So that's just selfish.
I'm gonna send Billy and a cake to jump out in a bathing suit on stage.
That sounds like something I never want to see. So that sounds terrible. Hey, thanks, Matt. I appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Marcus, and have a great weekend.
You too, buddy.